Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, March 7th, 8:46 a.m., and we are back for another market open here today on a beautiful Thursday. Today's an interesting one because I woke up and I looked at my brokerage, whatever app you guys use. I use Robinhood. Of course, that's the app I like. A lot of people might have different apps. And all across the world, we all probably saw the same thing. Now, maybe you weren't waking up at the same time because all across the world, you're in different time zones. But we saw something. And we probably saw something that our eyes really couldn't believe when we saw it because it was just like, wait a second, really? Like, is that really happening? And it seems like that's really indeed happening today. Ladies and gentlemen, Palantir is at $27.22 in the pre-market. It's up 4% today. It was up 9.8% yesterday. This is just incredible. I don't think anyone expected a 4% jump. I think we expected potentially breaking 27 on AIPCon, which is going to happen today. And I'll be live streaming here on the channel at 1 p.m. And we would see some good conferences and some presentations. And maybe, the street gets excited and the market buys it up. I don't think we expected the influx of that demand to basically come 5-7 hours before AIPCon even started. So there you go, $27.20. The question is, can we sustain it? I think there's actually a really good shot, folks, that we could sustain 27 for the whole day. And the reason I think that's the case is simply because if AIPCon goes well, if these conferences or if these presentations go really well and it's exciting and there's, new partnerships and the street's looking at it like, wait a second, why don't we have exposure to Palantir? Then I don't think it's that crazy to assume that $27 gets eaten up by the broader market. People stop caring a little bit about valuation, which, you could argue is getting stretched a little bit, but I don't think it's the most egregious overvaluation that we're seeing. And this bad boy maintains its value. So I don't think anyone expected it. It's really exciting to see it. We got a lot to talk about: Bitcoin, Robinhood, Ethereum. We have some unique things going on in the Bitcoin ecosystem right now. Tesla is just getting demolished. I mean, it is absolutely getting wrecked right now, down another 1% of the pre-markets. Apple as well is at 169. Somehow the market's holding up with Apple, Tesla, and Google, three of the biggest companies out of the Mag 7, not really holding up. And then we got Nvidia that's at $900, which is just like, it's just all right. So we've got a lot to talk about. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Bay Ray, Midwest, Damien, Jeremy, Prado Man, Gift Magic, Felicia, Finer's Diner, Wick, Trucker Rob, Gerald, Shem Pasta, Benny. Thank you all for being here today. Trucker Rob, Van, Jack, Raul, Michael. Good morning to you all. Lyndon, afternoon there, Amit. Watched Micron create an all-time high before hours today and is currently trying to break that $100 wall. Yeah, there's a lot of stocks out there that are trying to do what they are trying to do, which is break some of those 52-week highs and all-time highs. Rebecca says, Buenos dias, Amit, de Mexico right now. Buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? See, that's the one sentence I know from Spanish class. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Damien, Swagnor, Ray, Matt, Defense, Scarlett. All right, let's get into it. So first of all, let me highlight this comment. And also put where you're watching from. We do this every week. We haven't done it so far this week. Where are you from? Where are you watching from? What state, what country, what city, what town, what location? Where are you in the world watching here today? Dexter, what's up? Thank you for being here today. So Ray has this really good comment. Bay Ray. It's an interesting comment. You have bias. It will be a sell the news event. Look, I think it can go either way. This is a really precarious position that Palantir is in right now. 27.12 in the pre-markets. The RSI is going to be above 70 when the market opens. If we stay above 70 or stay above 27, as you can see right here, the RSI, so when you get above 70, you're overbought. When you get below 30, you're oversold. We were basically at 67 when Palantir was at 26.15 or 26.60 yesterday. If we get up to 27, if we open with the markets at 27, I absolutely think the RSI could say that we're overbought and that it could be a sell the news event. However, when I'm looking at something like Nvidia, which is I mean, their RSI is still under 70 somehow at $887, and they continue to push forward. I think Palantir is in this perfect kind of storm right now. It's not a snowstorm because we don't mess with snowflakes, but it is a storm. And that storm is a macro economy that wants to run, inflation that's coming down, the market wanting AI, and the big daddy AI company, Nvidia, showing the market that, hey, it's okay to invest in slightly overvalued AI companies that maybe don't have all the growth metrics, because eventually they will grow into those metrics, which is what Nvidia did from 2018 to 2024. And then boom, you have this momentous run. So Of course, Palantir could get sold off today. 27.18 is asking for a lot, going up 4% after being up 10% yesterday. We're now up 60% for the year. But if the market likes what they see at AIPCon, and again, maybe I'm biased, maybe the market's like, screw it, we're just going to buy more shares. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this plays out. But definitely, Nate says, I think sell the news is likely. Yeah, it could happen. It could absolutely happen. I just think that if the market really enjoys what they're seeing, maybe they FOMO in. It would definitely be a FOMO in today. I mean, if the market buys today, it's going to be a FOMO in. Yesterday, the market definitely bought. That wasn't that big of a FOMO because there was the Titan news, Bank of America upgrade. So the market was like, all right, we're going to buy some of this stuff. Buying today at 27 after being up 13% in the past 2 days, I think that would be a bit of a FOMO. And it begs the question, is retail going to FOMO or are institutions going to FOMO? And I don't know. Or are retail and institutions going to take profits? I guess we'll see coming up in the next 40 minutes. Let's see where everybody is here from. We got Dennis from Seoul, South Korea, Raul from Florida, Inspire Rise from Pennsylvania, Eric Wood from Minnesota, Brad from Northeast Ohio. We got Portugal in the house, Netherlands, New York, Tampa, Florida, Nebraska. Kaios, I always know you're from Nebraska because you're the only one watching here, literally on the planet, from freaking Nebraska. I had a friend who was from Omaha back in high school, and it's because we were both in the debate community and we debated at different tournaments. And every time he came from Nebraska, I was like, you're the only person I know from Nebraska. So that's super cool. I love it. Guatemala, Montreal, Aruba. From Puerto Rico, but watching from PA. I love it. Georgia, Canada, Thailand, NYC, India. We got India in the house. I'm going to India in October. I'll be visiting some family in October. So I'll be there. I'll be doing the market open at like 7 p.m. my time, but like 9 a.m. your guys' time. So it'll be super cool. I'm from Cuba, Fremont City, Brussels, Ireland, Toronto, Japan. I'm on a plane right now. I love it. You got good Wi-Fi. Germany. That's great. Connecticut, Canada, San Diego, Antarctica. Okay, Broccoli, relax. You're not Igloo, Antarctica. This is great. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is awesome. It just goes to show how good of an audience we have and how international the audience is and how big this community is growing. All right, so let's break down what's going on in the world of Palantir. Now, why is it at $27 right now? What is actually going on? For those that are confused, for Palantir being at 27. I think there's a couple things that happened yesterday that were really important. One of the main things was obviously that we got the Titan contract. That Titan contract changed everything because it basically showed people that, look, Palantir is going to be reaccelerating the government growth. And if they're going to be reaccelerating that government growth, we need to look at it much more seriously. As a result of that, Bank of America's Mariana upgraded the stock to $28 from $24. And what she said right here is that JATSI2, the DoD's effort to connect individual networks of services like the Army, Navy, etc., into a single network is going to be a critical priority and the key to maintaining an enduring advantage against peer threats, i.e., all the geopolitical drama we've seen over the past couple of years, and Palantir will be the digital backbone for that event. She raised her revenue targets on Palantir from 2.679 to 2.697. Palantir is only guiding for 2.65 to 2.685, so she has them above about 20-30 million bucks, which is going to kind of justify this increase in the stock price. And on top of that, she believes that the Titan contract is so unique because it beat Raytheon for the contract. Raytheon, a legacy defense tech company. And this is the first time a hardware prime contract went to a software vendor, i.e. Palantir. And so Mariana's argument is like, look, if this keeps happening, then the entire world is going to have to procure software from the company that actually knows how to do it, which is Palantir, and the DoD, which has the largest budget, $886 billion when it comes to defense spending. They're definitely going to be looking at Palantir a lot more seriously because they were able to give them this Titan contract. And by the way, this is $178 million on a $1.5 billion contract. There is so much more money to get for Palantir and so many more different contracts for Palantir to be able to win in the United States. The government business is sticky. It's almost 43% of revenue. So that if that gets to 50% with commercial scaling, we're going to see an explosion in the numbers eventually one of these quarters. And that also makes the street really excited because that's revenue that's not going away. That's revenue that's also very important because the government's not going to let you go bankrupt, right? So if anyone's worried about Palantir going bankrupt, not only do they have about $4 billion in cash, but the government's not letting a company that important to our ecosystem go bankrupt. And so I think from that perspective, Titan is a game changer in regards to how the street actually conceptualizes and thinks of the product. And that's why the street's getting excited as well. And so, you know, we're seeing some momentum there. Now, on top of that, outside of that, we have AIPCon coming today. AIPCon, again, I don't know what these conferences will look like. Palantir right now, 27-23 in the pre-markets. But if AIPCon is good enough to get the street excited, that is another catalyst that has the street potentially front-running Palantir stock action today at 27.24 because they think, hey, they're going to announce some really good stuff, kind of like these Nvidia events. And if they announce something really cool, we want to have exposure before we make that announcement. And so that's why we're seeing the run up in Palantir. For those that are like questioning why is that happening. Another reason we're seeing the run up in Palantir, and this gets us to a good transition, is Nvidia. Nvidia right now is up about 2%. Nvidia right now is up 2%, $903 in the pre-markets, up 1.89%. It's kind of insane. Nvidia year to date at this point, I believe, is up 70%, which is just like incredible. Yeah, year to date right now, 83%. Sorry, I was off by 13%. 2.2 trillion. Now, look, here's my take on Nvidia now. I don't think it's a question of valuation anymore in the context of like PE and all that stuff. And those are really not bad metrics for Nvidia, even though they might start to get up there as it gets closer to like 940, 950. I think it's a question of where you park your money. And I think the streets kind of come to the conclusion that if cash is not a good return on your investment, which is, this money market fund, and bonds may not be the best, and crypto is a little bit too volatile, then where do we put our money where we know there's going to be growth? Nvidia is going to give you growth. Now, maybe you're overpaying for that growth. Maybe the valuation is getting stretched, but there's going to be growth. And as a result of that, it's helping Palantir. Like, whether we like it or not, it is absolutely influencing Palantir. I'm not saying the price action is directly correlated, but what I am saying is that if Nvidia goes higher, there is more momentum in the broader AI sector for companies that are an AI play that have not run like Nvidia has run. Nvidia up basically 4 or 5x over the past 2 years. And Palantir is one of those companies that gets into that bucket. Snowflake is not one of those companies that gets into that bucket. Snowflake right now in the pre-markets, where's Snowflake? Snowflake is 167.99, so it's up like 0.59%. Snowflake's got a lot to prove. They are not considered an AI play, and that CEO leaving really, really messed with them. So it's going to be interesting to see how Snowflake turns out, but Palantir is in that bucket, and that's why it gets very exciting for Palantir. What else do we have? Stock split on Nvidia. Yeah, the thing about stock split on Nvidia, look, I think Nvidia would be really dumb to not do a stock split. By the way, Robinhood 1663, that's breaking out as well in the pre-markets. Palantir at 2718. I think Nvidia, if they could just split this thing 10 times and get a $90 stock, this thing explodes, because the people just get so excited at that point if they can buy a piece of one of the largest AI companies in the world, the most important AI company in the world, for $90. Now, granted, it brings a lot more volatility. I don't think they're going to do it. But if they did do it, I would not be surprised. Last time they did a stock split was 4-1 back in October 2021 when they were trading at like $800. They were actually at this price and they went to 200, and then they collapsed down to like 130, and now they made their way back up to 900. So it's like a really amazing story in the course of like 2.5 years. And so that's why we're seeing some excitement here for Nvidia. Why is everyone making fun of the shirt? Someone just said my shirt is mental hospital green. Why is everyone making fun of the shirt? Okay, I was like, this is a decent shirt. It's a green shirt. Palantir's green. It's not a horrible correlation. Okay, it's a regular shirt. It's a green polo. It's not that serious. All right, it's a green shirt. Goodness, it's a green shirt. Nate says, "Yo, I love your hairy chest." All right, pause. Anyway, Nate says, "I want to lay in it, dude." All right, Nate. Shout out to Nate, by the way. Nate is one of my good friends. He actually just secured a really good job at a dope company, and he had to go through some shit to get that job. So congrats to Nate on getting that job. He said his first paycheck, he's going to just start buying Palantir, which is pretty much what we're all doing when we get a paycheck. Get a little bit and throw it into Palantir. What time's your tennis match? That's a good one. I didn't hear that one. That's a great one. I actually never liked tennis. I've never been a fan of tennis. I like badminton. That's how you know what Indian I am. Badminton has been my favorite. My mom was actually like a badminton like superstar until she should be okay. Let me get rid of some tabs that are probably open. Okay, it should be better now. It should be better. Yeah, there was I don't know, dude. Every day there's just like a little, either the internet's not the best or I have too many tabs open because I have so much research here, like with different websites. And so we should be good now. Yeah, we're good. Okay, we're good, right? Yep, we're good. Okay, cool. It's not those types of tabs, dude. Everyone, it's like actual Wall Street Journal and fucking like, you know, like real articles, like real stuff. So it's not like it's not those types of tabs. Goodness gracious. It's actual shit I have to read in the morning to be prepared for this. Everyone says research in quotes. All right, let's look at what UBS said today. Okay, UBS, one of the bigger banks in the world, said today in a research note, they're comparing today's bull market and the 1990s bull run with no bubble ready to pop. Okay, the Fed finished an aggressive hiking cycle in 1995. U.S. stocks began a bull run, delivering 27.9% annualized return over 6 years before the bubble burst in March 2000. So what the Fed is saying, or not what the Fed, what UBS is projecting is that, wait a second, this is a run that's basically 1994 to year 2000, where the market, on average, returned almost 30% a year. That's unheard of. That doesn't happen, right? You only get that in these like big industrial revolution types of cycles that happen. That doesn't usually happen. So if the market's now giving you about 27.9% year over year in annualized returns before the bubble burst in 2000, if we're not into the year 2000 and we're in 1995, which is 2024, then we've got till 2029, basically call it 2030, until this thing's really, really gets exciting. And so what's exciting for me in terms of how this is going to operate is that if we are actually in that time, Palantir is not slowing down. Nvidia is not slowing down. These companies are going to continue to get the momentum that the United States market is willing to give them, that the global market is willing to give them, primarily because we believe that we're not in a bubble. Now, maybe that bubble, like, look, if Nvidia got to $1,200 today, would that be a bubble? Yes. If Palantir got to $45 today, would that be a bubble? Yes. Like, we have to be objective here. Those would be bubbles. So we're kind of like on this thin line of is 27 a bubble? Well, no, not really. Is 900 a bubble? No, kind of not really. But like, does it get to, if it gets to 35, is that a bubble? Like, you know, it's a very unique situation, and that's why you kind of want to see price action not go that crazy to the upside. You want to have it be slow and steady because it's more sustainable. But I think at this point, even if Palantir falls back to 24, 25, we're still above $16. And even Nvidia, if it falls back to 700, it still had a phenomenal run. And so the question just becomes, where does the market decide to leave it there? Matt says Nvidia PE is around 30. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. Nvidia's PE is around 30. So it's like, can you really argue that it's so massively, you know, overvalued? Damn, I always have to watch a bit with 0.75 streams speed, so not bad when the stream freezes. There's a lot of new people that have been discovering the channel over the past couple of days, and every comment I get is like, dude, why you speak so fast? It's like these random people like, why are you speaking so fast? And I'm like, all right, this person's new to the channel. Here is JP Morgan speaking on what it would take to get a soft landing and what's going to have to happen over the next couple months. Let's hear what they have to say.
Set to go before Congress for the second time this week. Today he's going to testify before the Senate Banking Committee. Here with her takeaway.
Oh, wow. J-Pow's testifying again today. That's insane. I didn't know he was testifying twice.
And expectations is Priya Misra. She's fixed income portfolio manager at JP Morgan Asset Management. So will it be any different than what we heard yesterday? And what did we hear yesterday in your view?
So I don't think it'll be all that different. I think what we heard yesterday, I think it was actually more interesting what Chair Powell did not say. He did not talk about a reacceleration. He did not talk about inflation being too high. He did not talk about rate hikes. I think what he talked about is rate cuts are still on the table for this year, later this year. I think he's trying to retain optionality. So whether they cut in May or June or July actually doesn't matter. I think the market's been focused on, do these rate cuts happen? Can that soft landing continue? I think the entire soft landing is predicated on the Fed cutting rates. And I think Chair Powell said, yeah, sure, we're going to cut rates. We need a little bit more data. I also think it was interesting. He didn't say they need better data on inflation. They need a little bit more of the same data. So as long as inflation heads lower, it's not going to be a straight line down. The Fed's cutting rates. So I think every market really cheered, and I think that makes sense.
The soft landing is predicated on cuts. Why? Things seem to be going pretty well right now.
It's a fair point, but monetary policy works with a lag. I think when we look at parts of the consumer sector, the overall consumer is okay. You look at lower end consumers. I think that credit card debt is growing. That credit card debt is pretty high with interest rates where they are. I think there's a lot of debate. What is neutral rate? The Fed thinks 2.5. I might be more in the 3.5 level. Where's Fed funds? 5.5. So I think it's going to get much harder next year. Is the Fed cutting all the way to 2.5, or do they stop at 3? I think that's a good question. but we're at 5.5. I think policy is restrictive, and the Fed can start, and the earlier they start, the more methodical they can be. They can cut at 25, sort of communicate that it's a gradual easing cycle. I would argue policy is restrictive. It
Really?
just takes a while for it to show up in the economic data.
I agree. Look, we're at 5.5% interest rates. We have not had these interest rates in 40 years. I would absolutely agree it's restrictive, and the labor market's tight enough for us to be able to come to that conclusion. Inflation coming down. The stock market going up is not a reason for why the Fed is not restrictive. The stock market going up is because of AI. Like, we know that. Like the stock market going up has nothing to do, in my opinion, with the macro. Like, yes, inflation coming down, that's great and that's important. But if companies were not putting up earnings, the stock market would not, like Lowe's would not be going, Macy's would not be up 20% in a day if they weren't putting up the numbers. These aren't just, there are meme stocks out there, but by and large, Unity got punished because Unity didn't put up the numbers. Macy's got rewarded because they put up the numbers. Palantir got rewarded. Nvidia got rewarded because they put up the numbers. So I 1000% agree with her that the Fed is restrictive, and eventually that restriction is going to become too much for the macro. But as of now, it seems like it's just right. Bay Ray is racist. He says, yo, is that your cousin on CNBC? That is absolutely racist, Bay Ray. But we'll move on from that. But that is indeed racist. Aristonkel says, will we be getting more details on Titan? So many partners involved. Want more on who is doing what? I think that'll be coming out in the next few weeks in terms of how Palantir is actually implementing the project. We do know they're working with Anduril and North Grumman. So there's a bunch of different sort of legacy defense companies and new defense tech startups like Anduril. That is currently still a startup that's working together with them. The question is just going to be, can we get more of these contracts? Because right now we're looking to get a lot more of these contracts, and we haven't got more clarity on where the extra, couple $1 billion are coming from in this whole JADC2 overall contract spend for AI and machine learning. But that's going to happen over the next couple of years. So I think the more clarity we get on that, the more we're going to know what Palantir's role is in regards to working with other vendors as well. Okay, so let's talk about Bitcoin inflows. Here we go. This is the Bitcoin ETF tracker. This is what we had yesterday, March 6, 2024. Bitcoin got some more money coming in. So Bitcoin right now is at 67,153. And so we fell, remember, from 69 to 59. And then we came right back up here to 67. As you can see on March 6, 2024, 281 million to BlackRock, which was lower than 788 million the day before, but still a decent amount of money. In total, net inflows were 332. If you subtract Grayscale's selling of 276, we're at 332 million. BlackRock alone now is managing about $10 billion of assets in their Bitcoin ETF by itself. So it just seems like there's a lot of money beginning to come, and the money that's leaving is like old money, and new money's coming in. And it seems like it's not necessarily stopping. Now, the really weird thing about Bitcoin is that I think we all know it 1000% is manipulated, right? It's 1000% manipulated because of this idea around all-time highs. I mean, look, I think there's enough buy-side pressure to be able to get past 69,000. At this point, to me, it's psychological. It's incredibly psychological. People who are leveraged long and leveraged short, the market makers can wipe both sides out in whatever way they want. And it's kind of under their control until there is so much buying pressure that the market makers basically have to come to a conclusion that they can't do anything and that the thing has to go up. But for now, they're able to kind of play in this little game they're playing around the $64,000 to $69,000 range. Really also, I believe, shaking people out, making people believe that this thing's topping out at this level. And then, when those people sell, they might gobble up those coins quick. And this thing starts going faster and faster. BlackRock is now getting applications from literal states. Arizona yesterday, one of the states in the United States, says that they want to make the ETF a cornerstone of the state's retirement portfolio. BlackRock would be conducting that entire ability for them to be able to access their IBIT ETF. So there's just a lot of momentum coming in. Global liquidity is starting to go higher and higher. And as a result of that, you're starting to see a lot more momentum into assets like Bitcoin. On top of that, NYCB was not in a good situation. NYCB fell about 50% yesterday to $1.70, and then it spiked back up to $3.49. Now, the reason it fell is because they're raising $1 billion of equity, so they will be diluting shareholders. But that equity is coming from a pretty reputable fund by former U.S. Head of the Fed, Steve Mnuchin. And as a result of that, you're getting a lot more people that are like, wait a second, if this bank is actually getting some more momentum and this bank is raising money from some credible people, maybe it doesn't need to collapse. Now, in the context of Bitcoin, a bank collapsing is really good, right? Because that just goes to show you how fragile the infrastructure is and overall monetary fiscal policy is for some of these regional banks that can't keep up. In the context of Jerome Powell, he doesn't give a shit. He's like, look, if that regional bank fails, we just have more consolidation, which is a good thing. And the overall sector can increase. But to see that drop yesterday to 170 and then rebound that quick to up 100%, I think it also showed the people that are interested in Bitcoin that, hey, this banking sector is a little iffy. And we can't just believe that the banking sector is going to recover because random stuff could be happening. Random stuff could be happening out of nowhere and they could kind of pull the rug in terms of how those banks operate. So it's going to be interesting to see how regionals work. The bank term funding program that the Fed put out last year in March, that's coming to an end this month. And maybe that is one of those catalysts that shakes up regionals. I don't think it's going to be the worst thing in the world. But NYCB was definitely something that was weird for the market yesterday to consume, especially when it rebounded up 100%, because I don't think anyone expected that to happen as well. But that is indeed what we saw happen yesterday. Is Powell speaking at 10 a.m. again? Yes, I agree. We won't be streaming that, but that's probably going to be at the Senate because he testified yesterday in Congress, or he's testifying at a different part of Congress. But live streaming AIPCon 1 p.m. We will be live streaming AIPCon. By the way, AIPCon is going to be wild, dude. The amount of tidbits we've been getting from AIPCon from some of these Palantir employees that work at the company. Let me show you guys one of these things that he tweeted yesterday. This is one of my good friends, Chad. I'm putting his Twitter in the chat. Everyone, if you care about Palantir, you definitely should be following Chad because he's one of the most awesome Palantir employees who interacts with us on social. And look at what he posted here today. Okay, AIP, hundreds of use cases in production across customers. So you got aerospace, automotive, insurance, construction, energy, consulting, defense, legal, life schemes, or life sciences, manufacturing, utilities, real estate, logistics and supply chain, financial services, healthcare, retail. This is at the conference right now today. And at that conference, they're going to have a bunch of people presenting on all the different stuff that they do. And it's going to be really interesting, dude, because again, Wall Street's going to be looking at this like, okay, so you're telling me there's hundreds and hundreds of different use cases for this company. Well, maybe if there's that many use cases, we need to look at it a lot more seriously because there's going to be enterprises that are willing to adopt something like Palantir's AIP, which means revenue is going to grow up, growth is going to grow up, and the street's going to potentially go up in terms of their ownership allocation to Palantir. So this AIPCon is going to be one of the most exciting AIPCons we've seen in a very long time. And, the last time we had it was in September, which was a good one. The presentations were all right. June was really good in 2023 because it was the first time we were getting introduced to it. Today, I think, is going to be one of those AIPCons where it's like we really get our socks blown off. The title, the tagline for this is compressing space and time. So I don't know what type of presentations they're going to show with their software, but there's going to be some interesting shit, dude. Compressing space and time, if that's your title, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be very, very fun. Michael says, Amit, what's the deal with SoundHound? Is it a buy the dip situation? No, I would not chase SoundHound. I really wouldn't. SoundHound is, dude, it's valued at $1 billion and it's growing 40% year over year, and the revenue is 80 million. Like you can't make an argument for SoundHound at 80 million being worth 2 billion. Like the multiple on that is kind of insane. So I know retail hyped it up, but no, it is not a buy the dip, and it's a buy the dip if you believe in the long term trajectory of a company. But it's worth 1.5 billion. It's doing 80 million in revenue. Like I don't care how fast you're growing. That's a multiple that you can't sustain. And yes, it's AI, but like, is it really that exciting AI? It's not GPUs. It's not, LLMs. It's like voice recognition, which is cool. But does it deserve 50x revenue? I don't know. I don't think so. So I wouldn't buy the dip on that or Luna or any of these meme stocks. There's so many better opportunities. Why not allocate more to Palantir? Why not build a better Palantir position? Why not, look at something like Tesla, which we'll talk about in a second. I mean, there's just other opportunities out there versus something like SoundHound. Okay, we got some breaking news on Robinhood. Nate put this out right here. All right, so let me go to their IR. Nate, if I don't find it, I'm going to need you to send the link. Robinhood, by the way, has had a pretty good week right now, up 1%. Yeah, Nate, if you could send that in the chat, that'd be awesome because I don't see that on their website. One thing about Robinhood that I do want to say that we got this piece of news last night, and then we'll talk about Tesla. So let's do this. Vlad tweeted yesterday, CEO of Robinhood. And so 2 updates. Here, let me show you what he tweeted first, and then we'll get to the second update. He just tweeted it. Oh, Vlad just tweeted it, or Arnie just tweeted it. Okay, so I'll check Arnie's Twitter in a second. So this is what Vlad tweeted last night for Robinhood. Since we've launched Robinhood 24-hour market last year, we've executed $10 billion in trading volume during overnight hours. So basically, he's saying, we pretty much dominated the 24-hour trading market simply because of the fact that we're one of the only brokers that allows it. On our busiest days, we've seen as much as 25% of the total daily trading volume come from outside of regular market hours. This is a big deal. Okay. Now, why is this a big deal? Number one, they've executed $10 billion in trading volume since last May when they introduced 24-hour trading, which is why, like, Palantir right now is at 27.20. You could have bought it at 26.05 last night, right? Like, you literally on Robinhood, you could have bought the quote unquote like dip. Is even, it's not a dip, you know what I mean? But it's like below 27, and you could have sold it today in the morning for a profit. So Robinhood is one of the only platforms that makes it easy enough for people to actually do that 24 hours. Now, when he says on our busiest days, we've seen as much as 25% of total daily trading volume come from outside of regular market hours, he's saying, look, on a busy day, 75% of our trading, which is a substantial amount, but it's not like it's 100% of your business, is only done during regular trading hours. Robinhood is a business that should not make money 24 hours a day. Like Facebook makes money 24 hours a day. YouTube makes money 24 hours a day. Why? Because people are watching videos all the time, right? All across the world. So they can keep watching ads. YouTube can keep making money. A brokerage is not supposed to make money at night when everyone's sleeping because you're not supposed to be able to trade. Robinhood said, no. 1/4 of our entire trading volume on the craziest days in the market are coming after the market's closed. That means more revenue, more payment for order flow, more sticky clients, more options traded. It just means that there's more momentum in the context of what's going on with Robinhood. As Arnie says in the chat, 24-hour is an insane competitive advantage. So that right there, what we're seeing for Robinhood is super, super exciting. And then on top of that, so Vlad tweeted that last night. I think the street got excited. And then on top of that, this is something I saw last night from a bunch of people that sent it to me. Robinhood is basically saying, hey, if you've had a 1.5% APY, which means if you have, $100 in your account uninvested, you get 1.5% on that. You're now going to get 0.01%, 0.10%, which is so Robinhood's saying, hey, if you actually want this interest, you got to upgrade to gold. You got to get $5 per month to get 5% APY. Now, why is that really important? Because Robinhood is basically making a really competitive offer to customers to upgrade to gold. It seems like they really want to incentivize people to sign up for gold. And honestly, if you use Robinhood, there's no reason you aren't paying for gold. I mean, quite frankly, if you can't pay $5 a month to get 5% APY at your brokerage, there's an issue, right? Like if you don't have $5 a month to pay for that, like that's something's going on there, right? Because especially if you put in $1,000, which I would imagine if you're investing, you have $1,000 in deposits, it pays for itself. So, and plus all the other benefits you get on top of that. So it seems like Robinhood is going to really incentivize users to pay, which should massively boost gold subscribers, gold revenue, and overall deposit growth, because the incentive to get 5% APY versus 0.01%, which is 8x higher, is really, really important. And so now if you're looking at, all right, I'm going to get 5% of my money, boom, I'm going to take more money and put it into Robinhood. Their new credit card is launching soon, specifically for gold members. So once you join gold, you'll now be able to be offered an attractive new credit card that they can monetize at scale. And this is a genius move because a bunch of people are downloading Robinhood. It's number 45 in the App Store. It's up from number 400. So it moved up 100 spots. And so people are like, wait a second. We're just joining Robinhood for the first time. $5 a month. I get all these benefits. So those new people become gold subscribers. And all the people that haven't checked their Robinhood account from 2021 that are just joining, they're also going to check their Robinhood account. And so if they also check their Robinhood account, then they're going to be like, well, wait a second. I haven't checked this thing in years. I'm getting 5% on my money for $5 a month, $60 a year. It's kind of a no-brainer. Robinhood gets to really monetize that, and that's really good for their earnings. I think their Q4 earnings or Q1 earnings are going to be they're just going to crush. They have 1.42 million gold subscribers. If they get that up to like 3 million subscribers over the next couple quarters, they're going to be producing $180 million in top line revenue, which is insane for a SaaS business on a brokerage. So it's going to be very, very, very exciting to see how that plays out and how the street ultimately sees that come through. Marvin says, I signed up for gold. It's a no-brainer. Yep. It's absolutely a no-brainer, dude. It's absolutely a no-brainer. Ryan says, you mean like your dad? Yeah. My dad got mad at me when I signed him up for gold. He was like, that's a cup of coffee. But my dad is a different guy. My dad doesn't like spending money on anything. So, but in general, it is a no-brainer, and that's going to be really good for Robinhood. And that's why I think we're seeing some more momentum on Robinhood right now, because When the CEO is saying, hey, we are having way too much demand than what we expected on 24-hour trading, and then the company launches an internal campaign to basically get everyone using this thing, there are 11 million monthly active users, to subscribe to gold, because why would you not if you're getting 5% on your money? Like, imagine if 11 million people subscribe to gold and that's 55 million a month. That's not going to happen. But just imagine if like they really increase those numbers. It's going to get wonky. And then if Bitcoin gets closer to 70, 80K, the crypto volume's already crazy. That's going to get even wonkier. And so I think Robinhood's going to get really, really exciting. All right, so let's talk about Tesla, because we haven't talked about Tesla. Let's discuss Tesla and see what is going on in the world of Tesla. Shout out to Ryan. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. He said, I almost ran out of Palantir shirts after you wore it. Ryan is a subscriber, an OG subscriber, and he sent me a Palantir shirt yesterday. And on that Palantir shirt, it has the logo and it has the name Palantir. So super, super cool. Thank you for Ryan. I'm going to put his link to the shirt in the chat. I'm not sponsored by him. I don't even fucking know this guy. Quite frankly, I don't know his... I have no idea who he is, but he sent me this shirt. So if anyone wants to get the Palantir shirt and show some love to him, it's like $20. It's cheap. You guys can pick it up here. He doesn't even have a full domain name. His short name is kimleeshop.myshopify.com. So my guy didn't even buy an actual domain name, and he's still crushing it, which I love to fucking see, dude. That's just a fucking hustler. He's like, why do I need a domain name? I'll just fucking, myshopify.com. Fuck Shopify. We're not going to give them $20 a year for the domain name. So if you guys want to get one of his shirts, and there it is. You can check it out there. Speaking of domain names, real quick, again, I am launching my Palantir software tomorrow. That announcement is tomorrow. Super, super excited. I'm probably not going to get sleep tonight because I'm like super excited to launch it, and I've got to get a lot of shit done, making sure it's ready to go. So tomorrow, 10 a.m., make sure you're here. It'll be $42 a year. I think it's going to be really cheap. I think a lot of people are going to like it, and it's going to be a fun product that I think people will happily pay $40 to be able to use unlimited for the entire year. So that'll be launching tomorrow at 10 a.m., and it'll be a whole presentation, and it'll be exciting to see when that launch. Honestly, I did not expect us to get a Titan contract and us to have an AIP con right before I was launching this product. Like, I didn't have any inside information. I didn't know that, like, one of the biggest events in Palantir history, which is us getting a Titan contract and then us having an entire conference compounding on that Titan contract, and then us going up basically 20% in a week. I didn't know that was going to happen before I launched this product, but it's pretty good that that's happening before I launched the product, because the product is actually going to be able to be used on all of the news we got this week. So tomorrow in the demo, when I show off the product, it's really going to be utilizing everything from AIPCon, all the presentations, all that stuff in one sort of ecosystem. And so it's really cool that all this stuff is happening right when we get to launch the product. So I think it's the right time to launch. It took a couple months to officially get it done. I was worried in February that we weren't moving fast enough, but we figured it out, and now it'll be fun tomorrow to get it out there. And again, his shirt link is there. I put it in the chat. I'll put it again one more time for people that missed it. If you guys want to get a shirt from Ryan, you can make sure to check out his t-shirt link. Okay, so Chris Patel says in the chat, gonna have to start a GoFundMe to recoup my Palantir put loss. Oh my goodness. Chris Patel did have a $5,000 put position on Palantir, assuming it would go to $21. Look, maybe Palantir can get to $21, but it's at $27.20 in the pre. I don't know if we see 21 again. I think it's possible. Anything's possible. But like, I think we have a better shot of getting to 32 than we do to getting at 21, which just says something about the Palantir price performance on the stock. Farino says, Amit launching a pyramid scheme. No, it's not a course. It's nothing crazy. It's not you pay a guy to pay a guy. It's a tech product that is a SaaS subscription. It's kind of like Robinhood Gold. It's cheaper than Robinhood Gold. Instead of $5 a month, it's $3.50 a month, but it's a yearly subscription. And I think if you're a Palantir investor, you'll enjoy it. I really do. It's something I've been working on for a long time. I've always wanted to introduce a product that for Palantir investors. I've had a ton of ideas over the past 2 years, but I was like, how do I really make it good? And then over the past years, we've seen some upgrades in the overall technology space, and it made it very easy for me to build this thing. And I was like, all right, I think this is the right time to officially announce it. And I think the Palantir is at its growth trajectory now, where now is the time for this product to even be used. This product wouldn't be worth much back in 2022, but now it seems like it's ready for prime time. So it'll be really fun announcing that tomorrow. All right, Tesla. What is going on with Tesla? Tesla's down 1.3% right now, and Tesla is at 174 in the pre-markets. Tesla is in a very precarious situation. Elon Musk sued OpenAI, and that OpenAI suing seems to be absolute garbage. He sued OpenAI assuming that he would be able to get some money out of these guys, and OpenAI disclosed some some emails yesterday from 2018, basically showing that actually, no, you told us to become a more profitable company. So that's one thing that's weighing down on the stock. Number two, China price cuts is weighing down on the stock. Number three, EV demand potentially seeing some weaknesses weighing down on the stock. Number four, deliveries are probably not going to be as strong as they were. I know they projected 2.2 million. Or maybe a lot of people thought they would go from 1.8 to 2.2 million. They said on their Q1 earnings or the Q4 earnings that the rate of growth in volumes and deliveries would be significantly lower than what they had before, which means they're still going to grow, but not as much. And then margins are being compressed given what we're seeing in China. You've got all those factors that come together, and you have no FSD yet. You've got no robo-taxis, and you don't have any bot. So if you don't have any of those things coming together, it's kind of just like, well, wait a second. Is this really going to work, right? Is this actually going to be one of those companies that can pull it off in the short term? And in my opinion, right now, look, I bought the dip 2 times this week. I have 20 shares this week at an average of like 182. It's at 173. I don't know, dude. It definitely feels like a falling knife. Q1 is definitely going to probably crap the bed because it's not like Elon's going to be showing off some phenomenal numbers that gets everybody excited. And unless they can resolve some of the political backlash that Elon's getting because he just doesn't care about anything anymore, especially with this compensation package that now, which is not his fault that it went away, but also that's gone. You've just got a lot of junk coming in for Tesla. So the question becomes, do you buy the dip at 174, 165? I think long-term, if you're in this thing for the next 10 years, like, of course, like it's a great opportunity. The problem is in the next year, I mean, I saw some people today saying Tesla's getting back to $100 because there's no real catalyst to push it up. Here's the thing. The market is rotated out of Tesla. So if the market's rotated out of Tesla and Apple, by the way, that also is getting schmacked right now, 168 in the pre-market's insane. Now we know why Buffett's probably started selling some shares. If the market rotated out of these guys, I think the market has 2 routes when it comes back to getting into these guys. Either they get in a price that's super attractive, 165, 150, 145 for Apple, and they start dumping back in. Or the market's like, you know what? Screw these guys. They've already run up enough. Tesla's still up, over the past 5 years, even if it's not 3 years. Apple is up like 30% from last year. We're going to IWM. We're going to Robinhood. We're going to SoFi. We're going to Palantir. We're going to Nvidia, even though that's, highly valued, but still we like Nvidia because their growth is there. We're going to CrowdStrike. We're going to AMD. We're going to Palo Alto Networks. We're going to SMCI. If the market decides that Tesla, Apple, Google have too much baggage and that they want to actually have a real rotation, we might see a legitimate rotation into other companies, and Tesla, Apple, and Google might be left for dead. Robinhood right now, 1670 in the pre-markets. Palantir, 2706. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this happens. I don't think any of us have a clue, but I do think that when sentiment gets this bad on Tesla, it tends to signal that maybe we're approaching a little bit more of a bottom than people think. Remember, we got to 179 and then we jumped back to 205 basically in the last 2 weeks. And then the price cuts happened and now we're back here. Maybe we don't stay here for that long. Maybe we actually don't stay here for this long. And we'll see where it turns out. Arnie says, insane to think that a new compensation package would be a positive catalyst. Yeah, that's insane. That's also insane. Amit, there was an attack on Giga Berlin production. It stopped for 7 days. Yup, Giga Berlin has been bad. Giga Berlin only opened up in February 12th. So there's not only been an attack, they just opened up 3 weeks ago. So that is also going to hurt production estimates and deliveries as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is officially 9:30 a.m. Tuesday, March 7th. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. All right, we got a nasty red candle on Palantir. We got a nasty red candle on Palantir. 2678. The market opens and we go red on Palantir. It's okay. We've seen this happen many, many times. First of all, if we collapse back down to 26, we're still up a lot this week. But look, the thing about Palantir that's so interesting is we've seen this happen so many times where there's this massive like downside pressure. We have 10 million shares traded already within the first couple minutes. And then it just rebounds because there's enough people willing to buy the dip. There's enough people willing to buy the freaking dip. So right now we're here at 2690. Let's see. I mean, we got to give it a good 10, 15 minutes and see kind of where this price action is going to try to go. 2690 right now, as you can see, there's plenty of dip buyers. Let me look at the walls on Palantir and see what this is looking like. So let's go to it. 26 Bitcoin, $67,800 right now. In terms of walls on Palantir, there's not a lot. There's really not a lot. There's like 18,000 shares at 2750. So the reason there's no walls is because it feels like volume is not as massive right now. I know we had a lot of volume as soon as the market opened, but we'll see if that stays or not. But I don't see any walls. I don't see like, oh, there's 500,000 shares at 27.94 or anything like that. So if there are more buyers than sellers, then yes, we can see more buy side pressure. But that volume is going to need to come in order for that to be able to take off. So there we go. We got Palantir 26.92. We'll get back to it in a second, and we'll see if it can get to the $27 range. Nvidia 8.99, just below 900. Palantir 26.98. All right, we're back at 27. We're back at 27 here, 27.04. Again, we have to see if we can sustain this part. Right now, there's going to be a push and pull between 27 and 26.90. As you can see, that green candle is kind of fighting with that red candle. Yeah, we're right back down to 26.95. We'll get back to it in a couple seconds, and we'll see what's happening there. S&P 512, right below 513, which was the all-time high. SMCI 1126. Google 133. Tesla opens up actually positive today, 176, up 0.23%. Robinhood 1640. They're down a little bit. They were up in the pre-market, so a bit of a sell-off as we open the markets. NYCB is up 12%. Bitcoin 67,330. There we go. Bitcoin is up. Bitcoin is starting to run as well. SoFi 754. I did buy the $10 SoFi leaps for January 2026. In my opinion, it's really cheap. Like, that's just me. But I believe that those, I think SoFi is above $10 by January 2026. So I did buy those in my Roth. I got about 20 of those leaps. Coinbase 238. Coinbase was at 245 in the pre-markets. Coinbase is now $11 away from 250, which is its IPO price. IWM, wow. IWM 207. IWM 207 is amazing. IWM, nice 1% gain as soon as the market opens on IWM. QQQ also basically up 1%. That's incredible. The QQQ is running. This is the NASDAQ 100. And Max 7 is all green, but I mean, the left side of the screen might be a little deceiving, right? Apple is barely up. It's at 169. Microsoft's at 404. Microsoft was at 420. Nvidia is the only one that's really doing well. Tesla's down 30% for the year. And then Google's green, but Google's been down 15% over the past couple of weeks. So Max 7 is not necessarily having the best month outside of Nvidia and Meta and Amazon, but Nvidia and Meta are really taking off. But the QQQ is still green. It's at all-time highs today, which is just, it means Nvidia is carrying a lot of the majority of that index. CleanSpark is now red. Coinbase 239, Bitcoin 67,600, trying to make a run at 68,000, Ethereum 3,800, and every other miner is red. Cypher, Iran, Hut, Marathon, Riot, all these guys are red today. All these guys are red. Okay, do we need to buy a share of Palantir? Do we need to? Oh, wow, 27.28. We didn't even have to buy a share of Palantir. We did not even have to buy a share of Palantir, folks. There you go. 27.27. Wow, that's so sexy to say. 27.27. All right, so Palantir's up 4%. There's a little bit of a breakout there. There's a bit of a breakout there on Palantir. There we go. Palantir 27. Do we got to ring the bell? 27.40. Do we got to ring the bell? 27.40 bucks, up 5% in a day. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a new world for Palantir. That's exciting, dude. That was, and see, this is kind of what I thought would happen. I as soon as we saw that red in the morning, I was like, all right, so it's going to be red, and then we're probably going to see some buy side pressure come in. Now, look, here's the RSI. The RSI, if you guys see where the mouse is right here, the RSI, yeah, right there, where my ticker is, where my mouse is at 82. Okay, so the RSI right now is at 78. The more Palantir moves down, and like every cent that it moves down, the RSI like goes like a little bit lower from that 78 range, but we're definitely above 70. So if you're looking at technical indicators, above 70 means we are definitely overbought and we could see a pullback. But when it comes to AI, I don't know if the RSI matters as much as AI. I think AI is a little bit more important than RSI because the street just wants to buy up these shares as much as they want. All-time high is 45 on Palantir. All-time high is 45. So I don't think, I mean, I don't think we see 45 today, but could we break 28? It's possible. Could we break 20? It's very possible. There's going to be a lot of sellers as it gets to 27.50, 27.40. They're going to take their gains. If there's enough people willing to say, you know what, I want to bet on Palantir at 27 bucks, and because this thing's going to 40, if they feel like that, then we could see some momentum there as well. So that's what's happening. Okay, so I'm looking at the, okay, well, even on the daily RSI, if we look at the 1 minute RSI, the daily RSI, we're right above 70. So it's not as egregious as the 1 minute RSI, but on the daily it's still above 70, which is, leading to a little bit of that overbought territories. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Look, 2720 is exciting. Here's the exciting thing as well. AIPCon hasn't even happened yet. We've got 2 hours until that happens. So when AIPCon happens, and imagine Lowe's or Cones Health or freaking OpenAI, they announce, some crazy partnership or they show off their software. Or Alex Karp just sounds like an absolute, like genius, and he's speaking about LLMs. Like the street might just eat this shit up, and the street's gonna be like, you know what? 27 is not that crazy in the broad scheme of things. And so we're going to see kind of how it plays out. But right now, that's what we're seeing right near with Palantir at 2730. Bitcoin as well running 67,800. Bitcoin absolutely running. Also, Nvidia 905. I mean, if Nvidia is at 905, Palantir is going to be above 27. If Nvidia is at 905, Palantir is not going to be stuck in that 22, 23, 24 range. Nvidia is going to, look, dude, Nvidia at 907, 2.27 trillion. The market's going to give residual love to companies like Palantir. And there you go, 2730. Palantir is becoming one of those. What other companies like a premier AI name besides Palantir? I'm trying to look at what other SaaS companies are out there. There's C3 AI. Let's look at them. They're not like a premier name, but they have AI in their ticker. These guys are up 1%. So, I mean, like the entire market on Nvidia going up 2 or 4%, breaking out through that $900 range, that's going to carry some of these other companies like Palantir. Bitcoin breaking out a little bit, 67,944. We're seeing some more inflows come in. So now Bitcoin, the question is, can it get to 68,000? And if it gets to 68,000, that's going to be get closer to 69, which is that all-time high. Nvidia, Arnie said, look at the RSI on Nvidia. Wow. Goodness gracious, dude. RSI is 88 on Nvidia. 2024 is going to be a year of, does RSI matter or does AI matter? One of the I's is going to matter. And so far, the market's like, we don't give a shit about RSI, dude. We do not care about RSI. Coinbase, let's look at Coinbase. 239, so that's up about 1%, 240. Coinbase is going to crack 250. It's just a question of when. Like Robinhood's going to crack 20 and Coinbase is going to crack 250. It's just a question of when. And Bitcoin getting closer to 69,000 is what's going to help those companies crack it. But we got to see if the market makers actually allow Bitcoin to be able to get to those levels. There's a lot of manipulation, I think, happening in the Bitcoin space. MicroStrategy 1312 right now, up 5.3%. So MicroStrategy continues to do well. They said they were going to dilute shareholders by 600 million. The market doesn't care because they're going to buy more Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to go up. MicroStrategy stock's going to go up. They're going to pay back their debt with their stock, which no one's going to care about because they're going to get their stock super cheaper. So it's an infinite money glitch that Michael Saylor has kind of figured out. And that's why we're getting some more momentum there. What is the RSI? RSI is the relative strength index. And all it is one of many different technical indicators to determine if a stock is overbought or oversold. So above 70 is overbought. ARM is up 6%, $150 billion market cap. That has an RSI of 81. And so something like SoFi, I imagine, has an RSI of like 32-ish. SoFi on the daily. Oh, no, SoFi is actually 53. Wow. So they take a lot of things that go into these indicators. Robinhood is at 38. So Robinhood is actually a little cheaper than SoFi if you're just looking at RSIs. So yeah, Robinhood is at 38. SoFi was at like a 52. That's incredible. So if it's below 30, it's likely oversold. Above 70, it's likely overbought. And then in the middle, you kind of have to play it by ear and see what it looks like. Wow, I can't believe SoFi's RSI is 57, dude. Like SoFi, I thought got sold off dramatically. Robinhood's RSI, that's up 70% year to date, is lower than SoFi. That just goes to show you where the street is kind of putting their conviction as well on SoFi. Palantir 2735. So we're basically up 5% of the day. We hit 2744, so we did hit a high, and now we're here at 2731. This is a new 52-week high, and the street is continuing to give Palantir their momentum. AIPCon, yes, correct. 1 p.m. Eastern. So we'll be live AIP 1 p.m. Bitcoin 68,000. All right. So Bitcoin's up. Bitcoin is indeed up. Let's see if we can hold Bitcoin at 68,000, but Bitcoin's getting there. The inflows are likely coming in today. And that's what's getting Bitcoin exciting. Palantir 2725, AMD 212, SMCI 1100. Oh, admit my camera's off. Oh crap, I'm sorry. Why didn't anyone say anything? You guys are supposed to know this stuff. Why didn't no one say anything? That's so weird. Like you guys should have been saying this for a while. You guys have to be a better chat, dude. I don't see any camera comments for the past 3 minutes. So we need to make sure we're on top of our things, guys. There's 3,000 of you. We can't warn a guy about his camera. The good thing is my voice wasn't shut off because I know the seductive nature of my voice needs to continue to speak in order to excite everyone about the broader equity market. So it's good that that was not shut off, even if my face was. Don't say I'm muted. Get out of here. I'm not falling for that crap. I'm not falling for that crap. Hold on. Let me make sure it's not muted. I'm not falling for this. Let me make sure. Yeah. Yeah, you guys are. I'm not muted. Don't say that shit. I'm not muted. I'm just going to keep talking and ignore the chat. You guys did that 2 days ago, and I actually fell for it. I was like, oh my God, have I been muted for 20 minutes? I was like, no, I'm not muted, but you guys like to F with me. And it's sad. It's really sad that that's how you get your pleasure in life. Like, I understand it, and I'm here to be abused by everybody. I get it, but it's sad. Tom Lee is on CNBC, and he's pumping the Bitcoin. So I'm not muted, and Tom Lee's definitely not muted. Okay, here we go. Here's Tom Lee.
So look, at the markets, joining us now is Tom Lee, Fundstrat Global Advisors co-founder and a CNBC contributor. Tom, it's good to see you. We've had recently, I don't know what you'd call it with technology, but at least some of the bloom has come off the rose on the Magnificent Seven, or at least a couple of them, and on technology in general, although the NASDAQ has recently hit some new highs. Do you see any trouble there, or at least a moderation of the gains from recent years?
Well, I think it's understandable that technology could be consolidating some of the gains, because the gains since October have been prodigious. I think it's been healthy because small caps, industrials, other sectors have started to lead. So I think it's a sign that the market is broadening. So I don't think technology valuations are at a bubble. I actually just think it's been healthy.
Really? So that is the half empty, half full viewpoint that either one that we've actually had people express earlier. Either, the generals could come back down to the soldiers, or they could broaden out and the advance could continue. So do you think that this election year, 2024, will gains be similar?
My guy did not drink some water this morning, dude. He's got to cough that out.
Similar to 2023, or was that that was pretty rare and unlikely to be repeated this year?
It's a question clients are asking us. The stock market seems a lot stronger this year than last year. We've had 4 consecutive months of gains, which Mark Newton, our head of technical strategy, says is very rare. We already had a pretty nice January, a very strong February. To me, if the market gains 20% this year, which would match what it did in 2023, it wouldn't surprise me. But I think the character would be very different, that it would be a lot more sectors participating in. In some ways, I think if we are up 20% this year, I think small caps could be up a lot more, as much as 50%.
So we're not going to have a down year. That you're taking off the table, or what is it that would have to happen to throw this, your somewhat bullish or pretty bullish forecast in jeopardy? What would have to happen?
I think 2 things would probably derail an equity move of 20% this year. Something even pushing the markets down. One would be if inflation reasserts itself in a way that the Fed has to reverse its action and become quite hawkish again. I think that would terrify markets. The second is if monetary policy is so restrictive now that
Bitcoin just collapsed from 68 to 67.3. So we just saw a pretty big drawdown right there on Bitcoin.
Flip into a recession. I don't think we're losing that much economic momentum, but either would be negative for stocks.
Okay, and so it broadens out. Do you have a feel for interest rates? Is that how important is that to you? Because we got a jobs number tomorrow that could move rates and the prospects for cuts later this year. You probably would be more bullish if you could say we're going to have 4 cuts this year, wouldn't you?
Yes. I mean, to me, more cuts would be easier for markets to sort of feel comfortable, because it would also have, as you're pointing out, downward pressure on interest rates. I've been pretty surprised that interest rates have moved up this year, and the stock market has been able to sort of look past that, because I think they're viewing it as rates are rising for the right reasons. But yeah, a better scenario is, of course, inflation's falling visibly enough for the Fed to begin cutting with confidence.
When Bitcoin was 4,000, it came down from 20,000, and you used to come on and say, yeah, by the end of the year, it's going back to 20,000. I don't know how you feel confident doing those things. Now you've done it again, really, and with the, I don't know, what did you say by the end of next year? Where could it be in your view?
Well, I think that sometime in the next 12, 18 months, Bitcoin can be over 150,000. But that's because, the backdrop for Bitcoin is so much more favorable today. We've got more visible demand from the spot ETF, and we know the supply dynamic is improving with the halving coming up, which is less than a month away. It does help that the Fed is becoming dovish. I mean, that's easier monetary policy. And I think from a regulatory perspective, we had so many hammers dropped in the last 12 months, really 18 months, that unless it's going to be worse over the next 2 years, Bitcoin's already faced sort of the peak of regulatory backlash.
And it got through the old highs. We had a true Bitcoin bull on earlier saying that in previous instances where it has reached a new high, that it doubles fairly quickly after that. I mean, he said 18 days. The minute it hit a new high, it sold off almost $10,000 to 59, but it's back to 67 today. How long before it doubles again? I mean, could you see that in the near term, another doubling?
I mean, near term, it's hard to know near term. Joe, I know our digital strategist, Sean Farrell, said that it's typical to consolidate after making a new high. So he thinks for the next 9 or 10 days, we're going to be maybe chopping around here. But we saw it with the spot Bitcoin ETF inflows, like, BlackRock seeing almost 800 million in inflows. So I think as long as there's strong spot demand and there aren't eager sellers, you do have a market that's out of balance, that there's too much demand for Bitcoin, not enough supply created through the block reward.
All right, so that's what Tom Lee thinks on Bitcoin. His opinion really hasn't changed right here. We're seeing some really weird price action on Bitcoin, dude. And this is what I mean. Remember in the morning, like 20 minutes ago, I said we're seeing some manipulation. I was reading a lot of stuff last night that's just like, I think proving this manipulation thesis is very true. I mean, we went up all the way to 68,044. Look at that right there at 9:40. It's 9:48 a.m. Eastern. Boom. Down $14,000. That quick? Am I wrong? Yeah, 14,000. I mean, the thing collapsed is so quick, right? And it's one of those things where it's like, well, wait a second. Or sorry, not down 14,000. I'm going crazy. Down 1,000, right? 68 to 66. Yeah, I'm going crazy. But like the fact that it had that crash that quickly, 68 to 66, 66.9, it's like, well, wait a second. What's going on? Like, who sold at the top that quick, right? And I don't know. And so there is some argument there that this is not going to be an easy thing just to get above, because there are a variety of things going on in regards to liquidation, in regards to how the market is perceiving this. So here's another thing that we have right here in terms of what's going on. You can see right here, this is a liquidation map of Bitcoin. Bitcoin has $2.2 billion of longs liquidated if it goes to 63,200 and $2.4 billion of shorts to liquidate if it goes to 70,000. So the market makers are basically saying, hey, all of you leveraged longs and shorts on Bitcoin, here are the prices. If it goes below 63, you're screwed. If it goes above 70,000, you're screwed. Because there's people shorting it and there's people going leverage long on it. And so either way, this is going to be one of the most volatile things I think we see over the next few months, especially after the halving event, because we're basically going to see, is there enough demand chasing that supply, and how is that supply actually going to be able to reconcile the amount of demand that's coming? And so it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool to see what happens. Inspire Rise, thank you for the $10 super chat. Amit, you are a roaring kitty. We just like the stock. AmitCon 2025. Let's make it happen. We're definitely gonna have meetups. We did a meetup in Vegas last October, so we're definitely gonna have some international meetups either in the UK or in New York. Probably in the summer, we got to set some stuff up, maybe in LA, and make sure we can meet with everybody here across the world. Australia, I want to go to Australia one day, so we got to go to Australia. Okay, SoFi is down 736, down 0.68%. SoFi is just continuing to get beat up, and then Palantir continuing to maintain its momentum. Now it's not at the 2740 level we saw in the beginning of the market, the market open, but still 2710. It fell right below 27. It went to 26.9, and it rebounded right there at 27.2. So it seems like the dip was willing to be bought at that 26 level, 26.9, 26.8. And the question is, will AIPCon be enough to continue to get the dip to be bought. Ethereum at 37.97, basically 3,800. Snowflake continues to get hit, dude. 1.3% down. Snowflake is not getting any love by the market. This was one of the most beloved stocks on the market, and it's getting kicked. It's just getting destroyed. Nvidia at 907. This one continuing to get some momentum here today. Google 133. Honest is up 24%. They had decent earnings. They were GAAP profitable. They're a company that sells diapers and they sell the baby wipes so that the Snowflake shareholders can cry off their tears. So there you go. Honest is up 22%. IWM 207, QQQ 442, all-time high. MicroStrategy 1285. That's up 3%. Let's look at some of these semiconductor plays. All the semis seems to be up except SMCI and AMD, and those guys are barely flat. TSM is up 2%. Broadcom is up 3%. ASML is up 1%. ARM is up 5%. All of these guys continue to be up. Oh, we did have, so I didn't see Rishi's Yahoo interview. Is there a link to that? So Rishi Jaloria, the analyst at RBC, he spoke about Palantir getting the Titan deal yesterday. And this was his argument. His argument was $5 price target. We think this contract had already been contemplated in Palantir's 2024 guidance. Look, dude, I don't care if you think the contract is going to produce revenue or you think the contract's like not that important. I don't get how you can have a job at an institution like RBC and legitimately say you think Palantir is worth $5. Like I just don't get it, dude. I really don't. Like, dude, at some point you got to swallow up the pride. You got to swallow up the ego. It's okay. Look, if PayPal collapses, I bought some PayPal. If PayPal can't get above $70, I'll say I was wrong on PayPal. It is what it is, right? You got to admit when you're wrong. And ironically, people respect you more when you can say you're wrong, because then when you're right, you get the benefits of people, giving you the credit. So like it goes both ways. You have to be humble and you have to be able to capitalize on being correct. But if Palantir is at 27.35, it's up 200% since it went public, more than 200%. I don't think you can say the thing's worth $5. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. But it just seems like, Rishi doesn't want to be wrong. Okay, so Crossroads sent me the link on this interview. Okay, so we're going to watch this right here. We're going to hear what Rishi has to say. I have not watched this interview, so I have no idea how he's justifying this, but thank you, Roy, for that. Let's see what he has to say. Again, $5 also just feels like there is a little bit of an agenda going on here. Maybe it's political. Maybe it's, maybe he's being told that from other companies that, hey, we want to get this thing short. Palantir 27.43, up 4.85% right now, continuing to inch higher. Demand is there for these shares. Liquidity is there. That's why, I also have not been a proponent of the buyback theory, because why buy back your stock when there's enough people willing to buy it? I mean, like, you don't have to give a gift to shareholders in the form of buybacks when people are ready to buy your stock. Okay, here we go. Here is the Yahoo interview with Rishi reiterating his $5 sell rating on Palantir.
Palantir is now going to build 10 AI-powered ground stations. These are battlefield systems that aggregate data from space and terrestrial sensors for long-range precision targeting and other missions. Not everybody, though, is a believer. RBC's Rishi Jaloria rates Palantir underperform, and he joins us now. Rishi, it is always good to see you on the show. Let's just get right into the reaction, Rishi. This stock is surging about 9% today on that headline. Do you think that move is justified, Rishi?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Josh. Always a pleasure to chat with you. Look, my perspective is, to me, the move up is probably not justified, right? This contract was known. I've been talking to a lot of my clients about this exact contract, similar size to what was expected. I believe it was contemplated in the guidance that management gave us on the Q4 earnings report. And look, I look at the stock right now. This company has a bigger market cap than Snowflake, a bigger cap than Atlassian, and I'm not sure that's justified right now.
Rishi, by this.
See, that's weird, because like you can't just say it's bigger than two companies and not really give a reason for why it shouldn't be bigger. Like Ford is also worth 50 billion or something, but Palantir is a tech company, Ford's an automotive company, so they're different companies. So I don't know if that's the best analysis there.
Same token, I mean, you've been an underperformer on this stock for quite a while here, and it keeps going up. So obviously you are diverging from the popular perception of Palantir. what would need to change in that perception? Because it seems like the fundamentals are not necessarily going to change. What would need to change to make the street come to where you are on Palantir?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think you're right. The fundamentals are what they are. This is a company trading at 25 times revenue, growing less than 20%, which is unheard of in software. But look, I think what it takes is recognition that what Palantir claims to be and what they are two different things. I'm not saying there's no value in this technology. There absolutely is. There absolutely is an AI play that they can help enterprises get their data estate in order for generative AI. But what this is not a cutting edge generative AI company. This is not a company that is innovating when it comes to generative AI. And I think when that bridge or gap of what is the message they're communicating to investors, and particularly retail investors, and what is reality, when that starts to narrow, I think we're going to see this stock come back more towards my price target, which I think represents fair value for the company.
Okay, I have a lot to say, but we'll let him finish.
Let me ask you, just to push on AI, Rishi, how many customers do we know now are using and paying for AIP, the company's AI platform?
Based on my checks, that answer is very, very few. They talk a lot about boot camps. They talk a lot about AIP. But in our checks, where we talk to partners and we talk to industry participants who are working with CIOs of Global 2000 companies, very, very few customers are actually paying for AIP and actively using it. Are they interested and curious because of all the marketing and messaging around Palantir? Absolutely. Is that real revenue showing up in the model today? No.
Rishi, maybe we need to just sit down and have a conversation. Maybe someone needs to sit him down. I would be willing to do it. It would be a waste of my time, but I'd be willing to do it. And just like sit him down and have a cup of coffee and just talk. There was some things that he said that are so egregiously absurd. It makes you think that he's, Gordon Johnson with these $25 price targets on Tesla. Like, look, Tesla could fall back, but to get to 25, you have to be a little, it's a little rough to imagine that happens. Two things on what he said. Number one, he says Palantir is not a real generative AI company. I don't know what he thinks generative AI is, because generative AI to me is very simple. It's implementing artificial intelligence in order to increase business intelligence, which drives business results for the enterprise. ChatGPT is not like literal generative AI yet, but it is a form of artificial intelligence that makes our lives easier. Nvidia selling GPUs, all of those custom chips are to enable the training of models to be able to make generative AI applicable in an institution, in an organization, in an enterprise, or in a government. You need a software that connects the LLMs, the things that you're training, the things that are just hallucinating random shit to your company's data. And in order to implement that in a meaningful way, you actually need to be able to have some type of governance, some type of security, some types of rails, some types of guardrails, some types of, in particular, AI infrastructure to build on top of those platforms, which is exactly what AIP is. You can't just plug in an LLM, Anthropic or Gemini or GPT, and then boom, there you go, you're ready to go. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Palantir right now at 27.05, up 3% on the day. So I think the thing he's missing here is the reason why we have so many big clients that are interested in Palantir is because they want an enterprise AI strategy, but they don't really know exactly how to implement it. And AIP is one of the tools that's giving them the ability, the accessibility to figure out how to implement it. So he's just wrong on that. He's just 1000% wrong. Now, real generative AI, again, is something that like will, as someone says in the chat, immediately generate content, right? Like I say, hey, girl with horse, and then boom, a girl with horse comes up. But organizations, this is what Karp says in poetry, they don't need to type in girl with horse and then get an image of girl with horse. They need to be able to figure out, okay, how do I take this model, implement the infrastructure for that model into my organization, connect it to all of the data from sales, from marketing, from administrative, from supply chains, logistics, and then drive business intelligence. There is a reason boot camps are scaling. It's not because Palantir is just like, hey, come to a boot camp. It's because, as AIP and Karp has been saying for a while, they are oversubscribed to the amount of people that want to come to boot camp. So his second point here was that, oh, I don't know how many people are using AIP, but I do know that they're doing a ton of marketing. We've seen in the Palantir community massive amounts. We saw 200 links in January and February open up for different pilots that are happening with AIP. I don't know about you, but I don't need 200 customers tomorrow. But I do need 200 leads that are not just interested, but that are actually using our shit. So when it comes to convert, the conversion might be closer to 70, 80% because they've already been using our software. So I think the argument there that's like, yeah, we don't know how many clients are paying for AIP. First of all, we got 47 new customers last quarter. I think a substantial amount of those customers out of the 497 we have right now, especially because we closed 103 deals, we only got 47 customers. So 50 or 60 around of those customers had to be from original clients, which means we offered them a new product, which would be what? Not Foundry, they're already using that. Apollo, already using that. AIP. So the idea that clients aren't using AIP and the idea that they wouldn't eventually be using AIP because they're already on the pilot list is asinine. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. But sorry if the screen is frozen, guys. I don't know why it's freezing too much, but at least you guys can hear me. I think it's pretty obvious we're going to see a lot more momentum for Palantir, and the street also believes that as well. The street definitely believes that momentum is coming as well. Palantir right now, 27.07. It's up 3%. Obviously, we're not at the highs of 27.50. That was a little bit overextended, and we all kind of knew that. So it's coming down. That's fine. 26.97 right now. But even remaining above 25, dude, which is like not easy to do. I think that's a big, big win for Palantir. Sorry guys about the lagging. I don't know why it's lagging so much. My internet is fine. It's not my internet, and I don't have any tabs open. I don't know why it's lagging too much. Maybe I'm spitting too much hot fire or something. But that's why it's happening. Yeah, I'm not muted. I'm not muted, dude. You cannot say that. I'm not muted. We're not doing this. I'm not Rishi, okay? I don't fall for your dumb, stupid tactics. Here's the other thing that's so embarrassing about Rishi, dude. Every person on the street has a price target of at least $18. The only other one is JP Morgan. They have 12. But the far majority of them are 22 to 25. Now we got 28 by Bank of America, and Mariana actually understands what the fuck is going on at this company. And then we got Dan Ives at 30. So look, you could be bearish, dude. You could say they're not generative AI. You could say they're not Nvidia. You could like, but to say they deserve to be $5 is stupid. It's just dumb. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's also just like, it's kind of scary, like how these institutional people that are getting all these fancy interviews and they're on, like, at what point do you have that type of influence where you can be manipulated and being used as a pawn essentially to be able to advance an agenda? Because $5 on Palantir just feels like there's an agenda. We know this by Gordon Johnson. Gordon Johnson has a $24 price target on Tesla. He said on Meet Kevin's podcast a couple months ago that his original clients would not pay him unless he was bearish on Tesla. So, I mean, like, we do know this stuff happens. People get paid to be able to have certain takes. It's just kind of sad that, you know, you have that type of a take and you don't even have that good of an argument for that take either. So it's not even rational. That's correct. It's not like, there are so many ways to make a bear case on Palantir. There's plenty of ways to make a bear case on Palantir. Now, those ways have significantly reduced over the past couple months with AIP, with boot camps. So like the traditional bear case arguments are just not that good anymore. By the way, can we check on Edwin from the Bear Cave? Can we check on him? Because I don't know how he's doing now that Palantir's at $27. But you can make a bear case without saying that they're not generative AI or without saying that they don't have clients, because both those things are stupid. And even if they're not true generative AI, in the context of the enterprise, they want particular applications for AI that are not typing in a piece of text and then getting a picture. Like they're not consumers. They want real business intelligence, and that's what Palantir is providing. And so it's really weird, dude. It's really, really weird that that his salary should be $5, that he has that price target. It's so weird. It's just manipulation of the market. Anyone who gives interviews has no idea what they're talking about, but this is how the market makers make money. Yeah, I agree. I agree this as well. Don't make him your enemy or he'll verbally destroy you. Dude, that debate was fun. That debate was so fun with Edwin. The debate was so cool. And the reason that debate was cool was because at $13, he was like, these guys are an AI imposter. And I was like, wait a second. That's just not true. Like, you could say you don't like the company. You could say you're not a fan of their AI strategy, but they're not an imposter. Like, an imposter is like a claim that they're a fraud. And like, I don't know, dude. That's a little bit too much. That's a little bit too much. Amit, when does your software for Palantir come out? It comes out tomorrow at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. It'll be fun, guys. It'll be fun. It'll be a cool presentation. I think I showed it to a couple people. They've been playing with it for the past couple of days. They're using it every day. So it will be very fun. And the fact that Palantir is, really on a tear this week, I couldn't think of a better week to launch it. I did not expect this thing to go up 20% this week. But sometimes things work out. So March 8th, tomorrow, we'll be able to launch it. And the good thing is we'll be able to use it on the news that has happened. So it'll be a really cool interactive way to kind of sum up the week's events in the software. Amit, give us a $5 stock to start investing in. Well, if you asked Rishi, I think he has a $5 stock you can invest in. The problem is you might not get it at $5. That's the thing. You might not get it at $5, but he definitely has a $5 stock that you may be interested in investing in. SoFi is getting hit, dude. SoFi 733. This is sad. This is really sad. SoFi at 733. Look, I think the $10 2026 leaps are stupid. I think what price are they? They're at 229. I got them at 234. If SoFi is not $10 by 2026, this is like the worst stock of all time. I mean, this is just the most egregious stock ever. But yeah, I think we should see some momentum on SoFi. I think I've talked to a lot of smart people that I trust on SoFi. Many of them tripled their positions. They were like, this is dumb. We know this is dumb. It's just a company that's hated by Wall Street, and the shorts love it. So if the shorts love it and it's hated by Wall Street, then there you go. It's gonna get hit. Archer's at 430. Is Archer up? Archer Aviation, ACHR, right? Yeah, these guys are up 1.818%. This is Brett Adcock's former company. He's the guy who is creating Figure, which is a robotic startup right now. Haven't looked in too much into Archer Aviation, but I do know Kathy's buying a crap ton bit. Oh, by the way, let's talk about what Kathy bought yesterday. She did indeed buy some shares. We'll be live at 1 p.m., folks, for AIPCon. 1 p.m. for AIPCon. And we'll be here on the channel. Arnie will be joining me as well. So both of us will be able to analyze what's going on for Palantir. Okay, so Kathy bought 70,000 shares of Tesla yesterday. Something like that. Let me pull this up. And she bought another 600,000 of SoFi. So she's continuing to buy. 544,000 of SoFi here, 49,000 of Tesla and RKK. She sold 174,000 of Coinbase. Then she bought another 76,000 of SoFi and ARKF. So ARK is obviously buying the dip. Now look, she bought right before they issued the dilution, which is not even real dilution. So I don't know. I mean, like I get why the street tanked it, but there's not really a reason for it. If she had waited just one day, she would have been able to buy a lot more before they issued the dilution news, which kind of sucks because she did a podcast with Noto and then she bought shares and then Noto issues dilution, which again is not like aggressive dilution. It's like convertible debt. It's not that big of a deal, but that kind of has to suck for Kathy, just knowing that like, yo, I just did your podcast and now you're fucking diluting the crap out of me. But that is one of the things that happened there. And as a result, the streets, I think, doubling down on the short. Palantir 2684. We're seeing that come down a little bit. Nvidia 904. That's at 2%. Bitcoin 67,000. Robin at 1615. That's coming down with the variety of crypto stocks that are falling. And Palantir now at 2680. Trying to see if it can maintain its momentum in this $26 range. No SoFi bull can answer what is special about SoFi. Look, I don't even care about SoFi, but I think the valuation is stupid. Look at what Eeyore Wright says. Eeyore was right, says, bought leaps on SoFi yesterday, and I hate SoFi. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, even if you hate SoFi, even if you don't care about their investing app, which I've been public on the record, like, dude, I don't think their app is that special. It's a bank at the end of the day. It's a cool company, but I'm not like emotionally attached to it like I am with Palantir by any sense of the imagination. Like, but it's cheap. It's fucking cheap. Like, and so if you like money, I'm like, all right, I think SoFi, $10, $12 is a little bit more fair value. And so I think a lot of people are going to be buying leaps on SoFi just because it's cheap. Now, the problem is the shorts are doubling down, in my opinion. The short float was 17%, 17.8. It's probably getting closer to 20% now that this thing fell 20% because the shorts are making a crap ton of money. So I don't know, but I do think it's cheap enough to at least take a 2-year leap on 2026. I think the prices, I mean, the leap's down like 50% this month. So I don't think it's the worst entry if you were looking for something like that. Why is it a cool company though if the app sucks? Well, remember, the app is not their revenue. For Robinhood, the app is their revenue. For SoFi, they make money off of lending. They're a loan. They're a bank. They sell loans. So the app should be good, but the app is, I would say, like a couple percentage points of the revenue. The majority of the revenue is coming from loans. We thought they would be a Robinhood competitor or a brokerage competitor, and that's a year ago when it took me like, let's do it right now. We're gonna load the SoFi app right now and just see how long it takes. All right, I haven't opened this in a while. Here we go. As you can see, there's nothing. Like, dude, this is insane, dude. This is insane. And look, now it's going to tell me to log in. I logged in at least a couple of weeks ago. It should have my logged in saved. It should be a little passcode. It should not be asking me to log in again, username, password. Like, that's insanity, dude. Why? I should not have to do this. Whereas with Robinhood, I'm going to refresh everything. I'm going to literally exit out of all my apps. Okay. So it's not preloaded. I'm going to exit out of everything. Let's see how fast it loads. Let's see how fast. All right. So here we go. There's Robinhood. See me clicking it? There we go. Password. Like that was 0.1 millisecond, dude. That was literally 0.1 millisecond. It popped up. That is the difference. And I believe the API and backend infrastructures that Robinhood uses to be able to create that type of experience, that is why people fucking love using this product. And SoFi just can't compete with that. SoFi just can't compete with that. Did SoFi not get the Face ID memo? Yeah, it's like, how do they not have that either, dude? It's so bad. Like, I'm happy you guys got to see this for the first time because I deal with this all the time, and that's why when people say, SoFi, I'm like, dude, the fucking app is like, this is a $10 billion company. They can't hire some people in Silicon Valley and just fix up the app. Does it have to be that hard? Apparently, it is. So in November 2022, when I was on the SoFi Weekly podcast saying UI and UX is a moat. And Robinhood was $7. And I was laughed at. I was aggressively laughed at. They were like, no, it's not. You're stupid. There's nothing there. I was like, no, guys. Product experience matters. Like, product really matters. Like, you can't have a crappy product. Like, especially if you're a Gen Z consumer brand. Now, look, is it the most defensible moat? No, because your product can be copied, right? Your user interface can be copied. But it is a moat if no one's copying it. And SoFi's not copying it. And the reason they're not copying it is because I guess it's hard to really build it out or they don't care enough. And if that's the case, then there you go. That's where you're going to get some more momentum when it comes to other products that have more momentum. Palantir right now, 2686. So we're seeing the sell-off in the broader market. SoFi's down, Palantir's down, Bitcoin 67,000. Again, it fell from 68 to 66.3 and then came right back up to 67. Truist 37.45. That one is up right now. NYCB also up 12%. On the day. Dogecoin is up 2% as well. So Palantir taking a little bit of a breather. S&P is at all-time highs, 513. Palantir up 2%. We'll see if that can maintain itself or after AIPCon if the street buys it up. But it is taking a breather right here at 27. Chris says, I've been wanting to sell some positions that have gone up, but I dread opening that effing app, and I'm up like 100% on all my positions in the SoFi Invest portfolio. Yeah, it's not exciting, dude. I have no money on that app. I took my money out like a year ago from that app. I was just like, this is dumb, dude. This is stupid. We're not doing this. We're not doing this anymore. If SoFi and Hood merges and Hood revamps their banking app, I'd become very interested. See, here's the reason why this would never happen, and this is what Hood said a while ago. They don't want to be a bank. Like, being a bank has a lot of random stuff that comes with it, regulations, all this shit. And so that's not something they want to do. So I would imagine that they're probably not going to ever become a bank. And if they did become a bank, it would be super weird because I don't even know if they would be able to sell crypto. Like, so I don't think they're going to ever do that. But I do think they're going to just have a better product than SoFi for a long time. Okay, so here's a big piece of news that came out on Robinhood's website this morning. Robinhood forges strategic partnership with Clutch Sports Group. Okay, so what is this about? In this newly formed role, Rich Paul will advise and support Robinhood as the company expands its marketing efforts across new verticals in sports, entertainment, and media. Paul will work closely with CEO and co-founder Vlad Tenev to identify new partnership opportunities at the intersection of sports and entrepreneurship. Clutch Sports is LeBron James' sports agency, for those that don't know. Vlad says, working with Rich and the team at Clutch Sports, we will connect fans and directly through the sports teams and athletes they know and love. Rich Paul says, as we continue to grow, expanding our relationship with Robinhood was a natural next step. Their values, commitment to education, and dedication to social responsibility mirror our own, and I look forward to helping guide Robinhood as they broaden their reach into new markets and space. What it looks like is going to happen is basically Robinhood is going to sponsor all of the Clutch Sports athletes. Draymond Green, we already know, is a sponsor of Robinhood, and they're just going to expand the brand. So you know how SoFi signed up with the NBA and they have their logo on like the basketball floors? It seems like Robinhood's doing a little bit more of a direct influencer approach, working with Clutch Sports and essentially saying, all right, all of the big clients that work at Clutch, Trey Young, Draymond Green, Ben Baller, all these guys, they're going to be connected with Robinhood and they're just going to advertise the shit out of Robinhood. So not bad. Matt says Robinhood will allow you to invest in athletes. Fractionalize athletes. Could you imagine? AIPCon at 1 p.m. AIPCon at 1 p.m. for those that are asking. Palantir right now making its way back up to this $27 range. Where's Tesla? Tesla 176. So Tesla hasn't fully collapsed yet. Tesla's at 173, 172 in the pre-markets. Now it's at 177. So Tesla not completely getting hammered, but Tesla is here at this 176 range. PayPal is up 0.41% as well. So yeah, on this Robinhood partnership, Robinhood down about 1% today, 16.25. It does seem exciting because there is a lot of influence to achieve from these influencers in the sports world, and a lot of people in the sports world don't invest. And so that's a big market to go after. One of the problems with the sports world is that most people that care about sports, they don't care about investing because they're so obsessed with their team. Nvidia right now, 911 all-time high for Nvidia, just absolute insanity. But there you go, Nvidia at 911. The thing I used to be into sports and I used to love sports religiously. I started not watching sports because I realized I was like wasting my time. And that's no offense to people that are obsessed with sports, but I would rather be watching CNBC than watching the basketball game. And like both of them might be pointless, but in the grand scheme of things, I do think getting some financial information and just being involved in the financial ecosystem will make me more money long term than being happy that the Knicks put a ball through the hoop, right? So I evolved out of sports and I don't care about sports anymore. But a lot of people that care about sports, they're doing stupid shit like sports betting, which is stupid to me because it's like there's not that many calculations there unless you're like obsessed with sports and you really know how many points this guy's going to have tomorrow. Or they're just not interested in financial literacy. And if Robinhood can attract that audience, that's a ton of people that would be perfect to use their app and obviously get excited about what they're doing here. So to me, I think that would be really interesting. But in terms of sports in general, Ashton says, I care about both. Don't worry. Well, you're one of the very few that actually cares about sports and stocks at the same time. I think a far majority of people that are obsessed with sports, like, dude, if you're obsessed with the stock market, you are following everything, right? All these storylines, this news, you're looking at different opportunities. Why do we find Robinhood? Because we're so obsessed with the market. We saw this thing when it was at $8. Why do we find Palantir? Because at $8, we saw this thing. If you're invested in sports, and you really care about sports, your entire, fun leisure time is based on arguing over who's going to be getting more points or who's going to get into the Hall of Fame or who's going to be better, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. And that to me is just that's a waste of time. To me, right? Now, if you can do both, it's I commend you because most people cannot do both. But I think Robinhood is trying to attract that audience and be like, hey, you guys watch sports all the time. Your favorite sports athletes are using Robinhood. Maybe you should consider using Robinhood as well. And so I think that's one way to do it. Ashton says it takes a lot of my time to keep track of the NBA, football, MLB, and stocks, but I do what I can. See, I agree. If you're a sports junkie, it does take some part of your time, right? Because otherwise, you're not a sports junkie. You just casually look at it. But I'm talking about you're able to get on ESPN and actually debate people about sports. That's the type of sports junkie I'm talking about, which I was probably all throughout high school. And then when I got to college, I was like, all right, I need money. I need fucking money, dude. I'm not in the NBA. I'm not LeBron James. I need money. How do I make money? And then, I started getting interested in the stock market. Palantir 2687, Nvidia 910. So Nvidia's mooning. Palantir's taking a breather. And I thought Palantir would move up with Nvidia, but Palantir is taking a break, even though it is up 3% on the day, which is nice. Nvidia breaking out completely into all-time highs at $911, and SoFi down about 1% on the day. Robinhood is at 1624. They're down 1%, and Palantir 2687. They are up 2%. All right, that's what we've got. Amit, you're talking about a fanatic, which is different. Yeah. Casually being part of it and then being a fanatic, I think, are two different things. But it's hard to be a fanatic of sports and a fanatic of stocks. I think it's just a lot of time you have to dedicate to both. Okay, word of the day. Let's do word of the day. Word of the day, and then we'll end it out. And then 1 p.m. we'll be back for the AIP con. Cavell.
Kvel.
Okay, so it's not Cavell, it's Kvel.
Kvel.
She's not even saying the K, dude. It's Vel. So the K is silent. She's kind of saying it, but she's not really saying it. To be extraordinary pleased, especially to be bursting with pride as over one's family. Okay. She couldn't help but Vel over her daughter's acceptance in the prestigious ballet company. Seeing their artwork displayed in a gallery made them Kvel with happiness. Okay, so next time you're really happy that your family did something, that they accomplished something, you are velling over your family's accomplishments. This is an interesting word. I never heard this word before. This is interesting. Okay. There we go. Simple word for today. I will be back at 1 p.m., folks. Vitaly, look, he was lurking here. It's Val. Okay, so it's Yiddish. Okay, so it is Yiddish. Yeah, all right. So it kind of sounded Yiddish, quite frankly. So there you go. That is the word. I will be back at 1 p.m. Palantir 2694 AIP Con at 1 p.m. It's going to be exciting, exciting, exciting. So make sure you're here. Make sure you get some breakfast, get some coffee, whatever you need to get. 1 p.m. We'll be back live on the channel, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., breaking down everything going on in the world of AIP Con. Jay Powell is talking. Yeah, Jay Powell's talking, and he's probably not saying anything interesting right now. But it'll be fun. It'll be super, super fun. We got a Titan contract yesterday. We got an AIP Con today. And we got a Bank of America upgrade to, yesterday. And it seems like based on if this AIP Con goes well, the street's maybe going to buy up the stock a little bit more, or we might see a little bit of it just chilling out for a bit. But regardless, third conference, Palantir's flagship product, 1 p.m., 12 p.m. Central, 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll be here and we'll break down what's going on. All right, that's it. See you guys at 1 p.m. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in a couple hours. Bye, everybody.